This is a story about a high school class. This evening, our high school seniors are scheduled to graduate, ending one journey and starting another. Chairs are being set up in anticipation of tonight's event. Folks are hoping it doesn't rain. Walks the noisy fun, the ballroom.
By late 1953, the economic boom that had arrived after the Second World War had already transformed the country.
We were a self-confident people for the first time since 1929. People putting money in the banks. The real wages were going up 4.5% a year. It's just incredible to think about that now.
The thing was to be married and keep the home together.
More and more, that home was on America's new crabgrass frontier. In an era that favored conformity, it was perhaps no surprise that by the end of the decade, a quarter of the population lived in the tract homes of the modern suburb.
Cars are important, and high school seniors seem to spend a lot of time in them.
Americans were now confronted with a dazzling array of choices on the showroom floors. So many that for the first time, people began to view cars the same way that they once viewed clothes or hairdos, as an emblem of their personality.
Wow, it's cool.
Ta-da!
Wait till I tell Diane. She's always bragging about her dad's Cadillac.
Doing stuff like that. It's funny. It's really funny. You bought an Edsel.
Folks are buying televisions. Imagine, live shows right in your own living room.
It was in the early 1950s that one of America's most intense love affairs blossomed most brightly.
You sat in front of that set even when there was nothing on but the test pattern. You thought, you can't tell, they're liable to put on something right now.
Gunsmoke topped the ratings. It outdrew, that's a joke, son, Wagon Train with Ward Bond. Chuck Connors, the rifleman, and Hugh O'Brien as Wyatt Earp. But the big chief of the Sunday night range was still old Stoneface, Ed Sullivan.
Here is a, well, the Marilynx.
Everybody's favorite guessing game, What's My Line?
Are you the voluptuous blonde type? I don't think so. Not Desi Arnaz. If both of them.
Many teenagers are as concerned as their parents with the public's conception of today's youth. These students are portraying what we consider bad taste in school attire and behavior. This student is wearing an ankle bracelet, dungarees, and dropped earrings. This student is wearing an extremely tight skirt and tight sweater. Open shirt, black jacket, dungarees are mentioned in the code as not proper school attire.
The kids have activities, sports, basement parties.
I think that pitching wins pennants. The Tigers have got 4 20-game potential winners.
You'd be surprised at how many girls in school aren't virgins.
Like who?
Don Mossy, Frank Larry, Jim Bunny, and Paul Foytak.
Drive-ins, watching submarine races, school dances.
There is music parents don't understand. It's called rock and roll.
It was a much more infectious kind of music that we'd ever heard before. And it had an edge.
1, 2, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, rock. 5, 6, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, rock. 9, 10, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, rock. We're going to rock around the clock tonight. Put your glad rags on. Join me, hon. We'll have some fun when the clock strikes 1.
I got a gal that I love, so I'm ready. Ready, ready, said I'm ready. Ready, ready, said I'm ready. Ready, ready, said I'm ready, ready, ready to rock and roll.
Whole lot of shaking going on. Yeah, come on over, baby. We got chicken in the barn. Woo, honey. Oh, Maybelline. Can't you be true? Oh, Maybelline. Why can't you be true? You just started back doing the things you used to do. Bye-bye, love. Bye-bye, sweet caress. Hello, happiness. I feel like I could die.
Saturday morning, oh, Saturday morning. All my tidings have gone away.
Well, that'll be the day when you say goodbye. Yeah, that'll be the day when you make me cry. You say you're gonna leave. You know it's a lie, 'cause that'll be the day when I die.
Here is one song that will be in the top 10. Where? I can't tell you. It's Danny and the Juniors at the Hop.
Well, you can rock it, you can roll it, do the stop and even stroll it at the hop.
Then there was Elvis.
Well, since my baby left me, well, I found a new place to dwell. Well, it's down at the end of Lonely Street, Heartbreak Hotel, where I'll be so lonely, baby. Well, I'm so lonely. Well, I'm so lonely, I could die. Well, there is no room in this city for the vulgar performances of Elvis Presley.
I watched him gyrate his legs and swivel his hips. And our parent-teachers group feels he should not be on television.
It was all on my shoulders. They put the burden on my shoulder. Like, Uncle Milty, we'll never watch you again. How dare you put a man, a young fellow like that, to gyrate and do those motions which are disgusting. What did I do? I called up Colonel Tom Parker. About 4 days later, after I got the mail, I said, Tom, you have a star on your hand.
Pretending that I'm doing well. My need is such, I pretend too much. I'm lonely, but no one can tell. Oh, yes, I'm the great pretender. Adrift in a world of my own. I play the game, but to my real shame, you've left me to dream all alone. Too real is this feeling of make-believe. Too real when I feel what my heart can't conceal. Oh, yes, I'm the great pretender. Just laughing and gay like a clown. I seem to be what I'm not. You see, I'm wearing my heart like a crown. Pretending that you're still around.
Should he have long...
Another way that the young were breaking away was through their use of language. The beat movement thrived in the coffee houses of New York's Greenwich Village.
As the wipers squeaked in time on the glass, like angry reptiles running from an enemy.
The village has a life and language all its own. If you dig it, you're hip. If you don't, man, you're square.
Beatniks were the forefathers of the 1960s counterculture. The presidential candidates in 1960, Massachusetts Senator John Kennedy, and Vice President Richard Nixon were only in their mid-40s. Both were ardent Cold Warriors.
But I am not satisfied as an American to be second to the Soviet Union.
What we want to do is not to turn their way, but to do it our way. And that's exactly what we're talking about in this campaign.
The favorite candidate of much of the entertainment community reached the high point of his campaign in a series of debates on television.
These were the first presidential debates ever.
We choose to go to the moon.
A man on the moon, walking on the moon? Now, in this decade?
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
You gotta be kidding. But Kennedy wasn't kidding.
No, we are not satisfied, and we will not be satisfied until justice rolls down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream.
I remember thinking when I saw Martin Luther King that he was going in his dream to bring the nation along, that he was irresistible in his call to mercy and love. I mean, that he was absolutely the most irresistible voice that had ever been heard.
Freedom and justice, I have a dream. My poor little children one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today.
On the same day that President Kennedy established the Peace Corps, he provided more funds for an elite group of warriors called the Special Forces. They would become known as the Green Berets.
This is another type of warfare, new in its intensity, ancient in its origin, war by guerrillas, subversives, insurgents, assassins.
The very first mission for these highly trained soldiers would be in Viet Nam, in Southeast Asia. When President Kennedy took office, there were 1,000 military advisors in South Vietnam, sent there to defend against what America believed was communist expansion.
It appears as though something has happened in the motorcade route. Something, I repeat, has happened in the motorcade route. Stand by just a moment, please.
It did seem as though everything came unpinned. I was sitting in a dental chair when the first bulletin came over, but then the bulletins became increasingly serious, so that within an hour, about the time I was out of the chair, Jack Kennedy was dead.
Dallas, November 22nd. President John F. Kennedy was shot and killed here today, period. The president suffered a massive gunshot wound in the brain and was pronounced dead at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time.
So I dictated my story that day, and this was such an unexpected, unbelievable thing that had happened. It was terribly emotional. No Americans living at that time had ever witnessed anything like this, the assassination of a president.
Fairs had in the past, the fair in 1964 provided a timely glimpse of the planet's current realities and future expectations. The New York Times described it as a glittering mirror of our national opulence. It seemed to portend a future where the biggest worry for average Americans would be how to spend their leisure time.
I just took it for granted that I'd always have a roof over my head and enough to eat.
In 1964, a British rock band showed up in the United States that was described by one historian as raunchier and more rebellious than the Beatles. They were called the Rolling Stones, and in the mid-1960s, they created a song that became an anthem. Rock music had accompanied America's youth on its journey to the forefront of the nation's consciousness with songs like Satisfaction, #1 on the charts in 1965. The journey took quite a radical turn.
message is the ordinary order of things is either broken or corrupt. I can't get no satisfaction. You gotta do something wilder.
For some, other possibilities meant completely rejecting the values that had united their parents' generation.
I mean, where is it written in stone that people have to work from 9 to 5?
The Haight-Ashbury section of San Francisco became the center of the counterculture.
Suddenly, there was an environment where your personal history did not matter. Nobody cared who your parents were, whether you were rich, whether you were poor. You get up every day, and you had no idea what the day would bring. There were the greatest-looking women parading up and down the street. There was a sense of adventure, random combinations. You could catch a woman's eye and offer her your arm, and without a word, walk away and spend an afternoon making love, and if you didn't talk, that was okay.
Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
It's a gee whiz and few. It's a yeah, we're down, and I can remember just looking this way and leaning over and patting Neil on the back and just kind of saying, well, we made it.
We copy you down, Eagle.
A journey of 250,000 miles. It took 300,000 American workers to make it happen.
Step off the limb now. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
600 million people were watching, 1/5 of the entire world's population.
We're seeing things that no one had seen before. Stark beauty. It's so pure, and it's so perfect. Magnificent desolation.
There were virtually two Americas when Richard Nixon took office, and they collided that day in the first major disruption of an inaugural ceremony in the history of the Republic.
Eggs were thrown, obscenities were thrown, the placards were out there that were just awful. We were so torn apart that we couldn't even inaugurate a freely elected president with the dignity and the pomp and circumstance that such an occasion demands. And it was really a terrible low point in American history.
During the Nixon administration, Patrick Buchanan was a speechwriter for the president and the vice president.
The silent majority was what we call middle America. It looked upon these kids as very privileged. They were going to college, and then they were behaving like that when the other kids were in Viet Nam doing their duty. So it was more a sense of disgust and fed-upness.
Spiro is our hero! Spiro is our hero! Spiro is our hero!
And while the counterculture may have worshipped its rock stars, Vice President Agnew gave middle America a hero of its own.
A popular recent movie, I won't name it here because I don't want to promote it, has as its heroes two men who are able to live a carefree life off the proceeds of illegal sales of drugs. No sympathy is wasted on the wrecked lives of the people who bought their drugs or financed our heroes' easy ride.
One of the big movies in this superheated time became a metaphor for the widening gap between the straight and the hip, the old and the young.
Easy Rider. Oh, yeah, Easy Rider. Yeah, there we are. Well, Easy Rider. Yeah, well, where do you want to start there?
Ridiculous in this dress. I think I want to go change.
Why are you so nervous? What's the matter with you today?
I don't know. Reunions do funny things to people.
You look great. Piggy Sue! Beth!
Hi!
Well, it's time to go now.
You know, best boyfriend
We
is
haven't
with the
been
band.
able to find everyone.
What does?
You and your mother, you both. But most people seem. I wonder what they would say to each other if they got together at a reunion. Somewhere's in New Jersey.
Mom, look.
I wonder what they would say. And would they say?
It's okay, come on.
What happened to them all these years?
Nights and other days may find us gone our separate ways. We will have these moments to
I'm Popeye the Sailor Man. Popeye the Sailor Man. I'm drunk to the finish 'cause
Yogi Bear is smarter than the average bear. Yogi Bear is always in the ranger's hair. At the picnic table you will find him there.
We've got a gorilla for sale, Miguel, a gorilla for sale. Won't you buy him, take him home and try him?
Come and listen to my story about a man named Jed. A poor mountaineer, barely kept his family fed. And then one day he was shooting at some food, and up through the ground come a bubbling crude.
Come and ride the little train that is rolling down the tracks to the junction. Forget about your cares, it is time to...
Hello, I'm Mr. Ed.
A horse is a horse, of course.
Just sit right back and you'll hear a tale of a fateful trip that started from this tropic point aboard this tiny ship.
To the Batmobile. Let's go.
Atomic batteries to power. Turbines to speed.
Roger. Ready to move out.
They call him Flipper, Flipper, faster than lightning.
Probably is last spring, I guess, but it was a lot of fun getting a hold of a lot of people, so it was tried to do those type of things. You know, we got a lot of people to thank, and also Frank Pombo, is he here? Frank, is he here? Thanks for this great room. He worked with us, and I think we have this room until Monday, is that right? I think most people will be asleep by 11, but we have the room till Monday. Okay. You know, as we get older, we start to recognize that a lot of our classmates are no longer with us. And at one point, we thought about putting a list together of all the classmates, but that became kind of difficult. We didn't want to make sure we didn't put somebody's name on the list prematurely. So, but we do miss them, and you know, they're with us tonight in their thoughts. But we do want to single out a few people that lost their lives in the Viet Nam conflict. You know, if you put all the political stuff we've heard about Vietnam aside, the bottom line is these kids stood up and they fought for our freedom, just like the kids that are doing it today in the Far East. And I think it's worth remembering them, and then they'll be with us and we can party with them all night. And those names that we have are only 3 names: Al Brabicus, Nicholas Cerrato from the class of '66, and Harold Van Winkle. And what I'd like to, Hatchie, and thank you. And what I'd like to do is just observe a moment of silence for those folks. And then when we party, they'll be partying with us. Thank you. All right, thank you very much. And by the way, in terms of Harold Van Winkle, his son is a teacher at Hawthorne High School. And together with Passaic Valley, they have a joint scholarship fund that they hold in the spring. If anybody's interested in learning about that, see Frank Lukaszewski or Frank Luca Brazzi, whatever we want to call him. But thank you very much. I'm sure those classmates would appreciate it. Now we have, again, we thank everybody on the committee, but we have a DJ in the back of the room. Ellen Riccobono prepped this kid. When I say kid, this kid, we probably have socks older than this kid. But Ellen prepped him on the type of music we want. No disco, no rap, okay? A night of rap, free rap. And just ask him for a request. And it's also an open mic. God forbid anybody wants to sing, but you can at least recommend a song and dedicate a song to someone. Or if you want to give a toast, feel free to do that. I'm going to close this by giving the first toast of the evening. My wife's already cringing. Okay. But this is a toast about friendship, and then we can start the party. Friends may come, and friends may go, and friends may peter out, you know. But we'll be friends, thick or thin, peter out or peter in. Bada boom. All right, everybody have a good time.
This way, and as far as I'm concerned, I'm glad I got the chance to say that I do believe I love you. And if I should ever go away, well then close your eyes and try today. And then if you can remember, keep shining, knowing you can always count on me. It's what friends are for good times and bad times. I'll be on your side for. That's what friends are for.
Well, you came in open me, and now there's so much more I see. And so, by the way, I thank you. Oh, and then for the times when we're apart, well, then close your eyes and know that words are coming from my heart. And then if you can remember, smiling, keep shining, knowing you can always count on me. For sure, that's what friends are for. In good times or more. Oh, that's what friends are for. Keep smiling, keep shining, knowing you can always count.
Harry, you're gonna kill me, but I have to tell this, okay? Do you remember the time her locker was next to mine? And we had those wrap skirts back then, back in the old 60s? And Terry slammed the wrap of her wrap skirt in her locker and kept walking. It was very bad. I saved your life, though, okay? That's it. Sorry.
In about 1965, maybe even earlier than that, I was in a snowball fight with Tommy Carr, who's put on about 150 pounds since then. 200 pounds. I hit him in the face with a snowball. And I went over to apologize to him, and he walked up to me, sucker punched me, got me in the right eye, and that's the first and only black eye I've ever had. I did 27 years in the police department following that, never got hit. So Tommy Carr's got credit for my first black eye.
Well, I've just been asked to recite some embarrassing stories or some exciting stories which happened. And I remember being in 1969, and who was it, George, who put that hole from the... See, the boys' dressing room and the girls' dressing room were adjacent to each other, as well as the showers. Think about it, how the plumbing would be coincided with each person. So what we did was 4 of us, and I'm not going to mention the other people's names, snuck in to the girls' dressing room, and I had my first sex with 4 girls. And that's it. That's it.
And I'd like to add that John Ritchie is a sick bastard.
She was one of the girls.
Okay, my name is Mickey Morales, year 1967. I just would like to let everyone, and I was not, and I just want to let everyone know that. Yes. Just aloha.
Hey, Frank, where's that round man? Leon. Where are they? Come on, we're going to go over by Rodney and John. Where the hell are they? Where'd they go, Rodney and John?
But don't you dare talk.
Frankie.
You're a politician. We don't want to
Don't worry.
anybody.
Good. Come here, Nelson.
No.
Nelson, tell me about we used to get on the bus together, Frank. Rodney, Leon.
Yes, sir. What's
Tell
up?
me how we used to get on the bus in the morning with Frankie.
The whole truth,
Frank, you weren't allowed to sit in the back of the bus.
Yes, he was.
Come here, until I got there.
Yeah.
Come here, Frank.
Listen.
And we heard about Frankie Pombo in school. Nelson Romay.
I didn't know Frankie Pombo in high school. I've heard stories about him, but I didn't know him.
But he knew me.
I knew him. He was the biggest screw-up I ever met. He turned into a Patterson cop. He became a sheriff's officer, and I became a police chief.
There you go. So, June, you want to say a few things? Come here, June. June, hey, Tab.
Right. I send regards from Jack Moran. Mr. Moran, our senior high school teacher. Right.
Where I used to smoke in his class, you mean?
Right. And I see him all the time on the beach, and I still call him Mr. Moran. And he's wished he could be here tonight, but he said to say hi to everybody for him.
Thanks, June. Okay, who else wants this? Where's the Buno? Hey, Buno! Wait. Listen, Ellen, we have Ellen Riccobono here. Ellen would like to say a few words to the boys overseas.
Ellen doesn't talk to the boys overseas, nor does she talk to the boys here, okay?
That's not nice.
Go away.
Barbara.
Barb, say hello.
Come on, Barbara. Say a few words.
Hi, Barbara.
Barbara Bush.
Who am I? Barbara Bush, Kidwell, yep. Class of 66. Having a wonderful time. Great way to reconnect with people.
Hey, Lynn and Bonnie, come here.
Yeah, come and say hello.
Thank you, Barbara.
Okay.
Come here.
Wait.
Come on. Come on.
Hello.
Lynn Scott and Bonnie Bromilow.
Lynn Scott.
Bonnie Bromilow.
Say a few words.
Say a few words?
Come here.
Do you have any of the embarrassing stories to tell, things that happened?
I would never ever. Embarrassing stories. We have 100. We were very good. We never did anything wrong.
I was there. Here, you go for them. No, I don't.
We never hung around together. Never drank. We were so good. We were penny loafers in Madras.
They were rah-rah girls.
We had a wonderful time. We made the most of every single day in high school. And I don't know about everybody else, but I could go back there in a heartbeat.
I have to say, Passaic Valley was one fun place. It was one of the few places. Oh, and that's what was good.
Okay, girls.
And it was guys like this that made our life really.
And this is my best friend that I made in high school and grammar school. We're still best friends. It was the best time of our life.
Never any embarrassing moments. The only embarrassing moment was to walk in the boys' room. That was it.
And the nuns, I did get caught by the nuns in the closet, in the girls' closet, fooling around with one of the girls in the Catholic school.
Oh, God, no. We lived in a nice school.
My most exciting moment was more recently when my dog and I met a bear and two baby bears up at the lake at our vacation home. And fortunately, we're both here to tell the story.
I know what you'll do. Keep away from soup. She goes out with other guys. She's the moral and a story from that guy who knows. I fell in love and my love still grows. Ask any fool like she ever knew to say, I'll keep away from a run around Sue. Yeah, stay away from that girl. Don't you know what you do now?
Come on, baby, let's do the twist. Come on, baby, let's do the twist. Take me by my little hand and go like this. Yeah, twist, baby, twist. Ooh, yeah, just like this. Come on, little miss, and do the twist. My daddy is sleeping, and mama ain't around. Yeah, daddy's just sleeping, and mama ain't around. We're gonna twist it, till we tear the house down. Come on and twist, yeah, baby, twist. Ooh, yeah, just like this. Come on, little miss, and do the twist. Yeah.
Named Daisy, she almost drive me crazy. Got a gal named Daisy, she almost drive me crazy. She knows how to do to me, to the booty, oh, to the booty, oh, Rudy, to the booty, oh, Rudy, to the booty, oh, Rudy.
And you drive me crazy. The goodness gracious, with balls of fire. Should. You're fine, so kind. I got to tell this world that you're mine. I treat my nails and I flip on my thumb. I'm real nervous because the show is fun. Come on, baby, drive me crazy. Goodness gracious, quick balls of fire.
and there's no one around.
you've got nothing to lose. Won't you let me take you on a sea cruise? Ooh-wee, baby, ooh-wee, baby, ooh-wee, baby. Won't you let me take you on a sea cruise? Feel like jumping, baby, won't you join me, please? I don't like begging, but now I'm on bended knee. I got to get to rock and get my hat off the rack. I got to boogie woogie like a knife in the back. So be my guest, you've got nothing to lose. Won't you let me take you on a sea cruise? Ooh-wee, baby, ooh-wee, baby, ooh-wee, baby. Won't you let me take you on a sea cruise? I got to get to moving, baby, I ain't lying. My heart is beating rhythm and it's right on time. So be my guest, you've got nothing.
And so I face the final curtain, my friends. I'll say it clear, I'll state my case, of which I'm certain. I've lived a life that's full. I've traveled each and every highway, oh, and more, much more than this. I did it my way. Regrets, I've had a few, but then again, too few to mention. I left and cried without exemption. I planned each chartered course, each careful stare along the byways, oh, and more, much more than this. I did it my way. Yes, there were times, I'm sure you knew, when I bit off more than I could chew. But through it all, when there was doubt, I ate it up and spit it out. I faced it all, and I stood tall and did it my way. I've laughed and cried, I've had my fill, my share of losing, and now that's a bad disc right there, buddy.
All right, I'm here to tell you this is a wonderful time we're having here. I got Teddy the Dude next to me. Teddy, say hi.
Hi, how you doing?
Okay, fine. I got Johnny B over here. Johnny B from Florida.
Hi, guys. The best 40 years I've ever had.
And I'll tell you, I've been at this reception all night. I recognize about 37 people. And the only reason I have a problem recognizing 37 people, because I was never in school. The only people I recognize is the people from the lunchroom, 4th, 5th, and 6th periods, because I was there shaking them down for the money for the gas for the car. Teddy can attest to that.
That's correct, you're right.
So I think everybody here is a wonderful person, and I think everybody should be happy that they're still here, in good shape, doing what they do the best, party. God bless America, and God bless the class of the 60s.
Teach you,
Shake it up. Quarter turn with the right. 1, 2, 3. To the left. 2, 3. Take it back. 2, 3.
You can't see it. It's electric. Woogie, woogie, woogie. You gotta feel it. It's electric. Woogie, woogie, woogie. Ooh, it's shocking. It's electric. Woogie, woogie, woogie. You gotta mix a Kelly with the bubble neck the belly. She's a moving along electric. She's so got the boogie. You gotta know it. It's electric. Woogie, woogie, woogie. That you can't hold it. It's electric. Woogie, woogie, woogie. But you know it's there. Hey, there and everywhere. Hola, hola, hola. Donde, donde, hola, hola,
Her name was Lola. She was a showgirl with yellow feathers in her hair and a dress got down her leg. She would merengue and do the cha-cha. And while she tried to be a star, the pony always tended bar across the crowded floor. They worked from 8 till 4. They were young and they had each other. Who could ask for more at the Copacabana? The hottest spot north of Havana. At the Copacabana. Music and passion were always the passion at the Copa. They fell in love. His name was Winkle. He wore a diamond. He was escorted to his chair. He saw Lola dancing there, and when she finished, he called her over. But Rico went a bit too far. The pony sailed across the bar, and then the punches flew, and chairs were smashed in.
We're here interviewing George Pepe here. This guy never worked in his life, always had a joint, always had good food, and I don't know where the hell it came from. But we're here to find out. George, tell us where your claim to fame is.
The fifth.
Fifth? Fifth of scotch? Fifth of rye? Fifth of vodka? Well, fifth of what, George?
I don't know, ask Ronnie. Ronnie.
Claim to fame. Tell us what it is all about.
Rodney was always in trouble.
Always in
He had a hot car. He was always in trouble.
Hot
Racing
car,
up and down the
badass.
street all the time. The cops were always after him. All the time.
If it wasn't for George Pepe, the dance music would not be as good as it is.
And that's it from the guys on the 4th floor. Take it back, Jack.
it's time to go now.
You know, best boyfriend
We
is
haven't
with the
been
band.
able to find
Best friend of the family.
everyone.
What does?
You and your mother, you both
But
seem to
most
fall
people
for
seem
musicians.
to have stayed in New Jersey. I wonder what they would say to each other if they got together at a reunion. Somewheres in New Jersey.
Mom, look.
I wonder what they would say. And would they say what happened to them all these years?